Good morning, guys. Today I'm here to discuss about the second part of the sources of energy, class 10 physics. In my first videos of this chapter, sources of energy, you can get a clear idea about the content of this energy, chapter. Even you can get an idea of classification of sources of energy. So here I am to discuss about the next part of these sources of energy, that is nothing but the fossil fuel as well as thermal power plant. Okay, for that, what is fossil fuel? We will start with that. A fossil fuel is actually nothing but, one can say, whatever energy sources we are using from the earth, like coal, petroleum, natural gases, etc. These are fossil fuels. Now question arises, how these natural gases or coal or petroleum form? This is the first question arise. So regarding this, let me say, so one slide by which you can get a clear idea about this. Once the land was covered with swamps filled with microorganisms, marine organisms, trees, ferns and other large leaf plants, as the organism and plants died due to some reason, all this are died, and they sank to the bottom of the swamps and ocean and formed layers of spongy material called peat. Means when all those microorganism, trees, ferns and or other big animals, when they died, they just sedimented at the bottom of the swamps, and these things form some layer which is known as peat. Now this peat, over a millions of years, this peat was covered by sand, clay and other minerals which covered the peat into sedimentary rocks. Means this peat is actually changed to sedimentary rocks due to different type of materials of this earth, as well as, one can say, different type of sand and clay. Okay, now this rock over a time of different type of fossil fuel form. These rocks, how? Due to different type of temperature, pressure and the decomposition of organic organic matter. Now, this different type of fossil fuel form depending on the combinations of organic matter present, how long it was built, and what temperature and pressure condition exist when they were decomposing. Means depends upon the temperature, depends upon the pressure, as well as depends upon the environment. We are getting different type of fossil fuel. Like the first things we are getting is coal. Coal is formed plants and trees which harden due to pressure and heat. Means when at a certain place of this earth, if we can get a different type of ferns, plants and trees, and that thing is changed to coal due to a high pressure and heat. Okay, now the second thing is nothing but oil. Oil is formed from the smaller organism like zooplankton and algae. Intense amount of pressure cause this complex organic materials to decompose into oil. Means different type of sea animals, even a big animal also, when they sedimented and forms this at first forms these rocks, and this due to a huge amount of pressure and complex organic matter, these all peat is actually changed to oil. The third thing is nothing but the natural gas. Natural gas is actually the same process by which oil formed. It is also formed in the same process, but it takes a longer time. Even we can say it takes a higher amount of heat and pressure. Means it undergoes the same process as oil. However, the process is longer and subject to higher amount of heat and pressure, that causing further decomposition. So apart from this coal, oil and natural gas, there are also some other product of this fossil fuel. So we will not discuss that things. We will only discuss this mainly these three things: coal, oil and natural gas. Let's go for the next slide. Video. One video of formations of fossil fuel. So how this fossil fuel form, that thing also we can get a clear idea about from this video. Let's check. So here is a fossil fuel. At first, it was showing that these are the C's or different type of small elements. The process of Carboniferous period, approximately 360 or more than that, means in the year of dinosaurs or more than that, it occurs that all these animals and these plants died and they are just sedimented, and this sedimented is formed the pet. So this is the pet, nothing but, and this pet is actually converted to different fossil fuel by this organic matter, temperature, time and pressure condition. Now the first things one can say, this coal, oil and natural gas, these are the three main byproduct. At first one can say this farms, plants and trees at plus pressure heat got this coal, and the sea animals due to huge amount of heat and pressure that converted to oil, and the same process these things also with much more heat and pressure it forms the natural gases. So these are the mainly three byproduct of fossil fuel. So fossil fuel are sought after energy sources because these are the maximum usable things nowadays, and we are transporting or we are doing anything like we are getting different type of plastics or cosmetics or medicine also by using this fossil fuel. Even for the industry also we are using this fossil fuel only. The next things or the next part one can say, this fossil fuel is really very complex things, as it is a much more cost, and that's why we need to search for new valuable resources, and it is nothing but a renewable sources of energy. Means once it will use, so it will not come back to its original form, so it's a non-renewable sources of energy. And these are the industry picture by which one can say, yes, by this process this oil is coming, and these these are the factors, these three factors. One can say this fossil fuel are not good because it emits maximum amount of carbon dioxide and affect environmental issue as well as a health issue. So that's why we are looking for the alternative sources of energy. Here is the alternative sources of energy and different factors. So that's all about fossil fuel. Okay. Next, this fossil fuel. What are the factors or key points one have to remember? The fossil fuels developed from the fossils, example coal and petroleum. Okay. The second thing, these are non-renewable sources of energy. Yes, I told you, and once it will be used, it will not come back to its original form. The third is, India has about 6% share in this world reserve coal that may last to 50 years more at the present rate of the consumption. Means it will go like this way, then it will last up to 250 years. It will not last more than that. So it will be a big problem or big trouble for India as well as the world also. We have to search for new or alternative sources of energy. So here is the picture for coal, and this is for natural gas as well as oil. So fossil fuel, disadvantage of burning a fossil fuel. What are the disadvantage of burning a fossil fuel? That thing we will discuss. So fossil fuel also produce byproducts due to combustion which causes air pollution. Means the first disadvantage, it causes air pollution. I told you it emits an extreme amount of carbon dioxide gas that really harm our environment. The second point, burning coal and petrol produce a harmful oxides of carbon, nitrogen and sulfur which pollute the air, leading to acid rain and greenhouse effect. Means it's actually take part to greenhouse effect as well as it affect our environment by producing different type of gas, carbon dioxide, uh, nitrogen dioxide, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, etc. etc. Next is, gases emitted by the combustion of fossil fuel are main contribute to global warming. So the main contributor of global warming is nothing but this fossil fuel only. So here is the picture which can say you this fact, means this disadvantage. Really, it's a very harmful gas and it affects our environment. So these two are the picture of coal or petroleum industries. Now the next is thermal power plants. So now we will discuss about thermal power plant. Let's discuss about the key points of this thermal power plants and then we will proceed for the total things. Thermal power plants use steam produced by burning of fossil fuel to move the turbine to generate electricity. Means by using a thermal power plant, one can change the steam to electricity. Means heat energy to electricity. So how it works, that thing we will discuss. Wait for some time. The next thing is the burning of coal heats up the water and forms steam that used to run the turbine. And usually thermal power plants are located near coal or oil field as it is easier to transport electricity than transport coal. So here is the picture, a for uh, clear picture for a thermal power plant. How it works? Let's check. These are a boiler. Here is a, wait a minute please. So here is a boiler. Within that a huge amount of water is present. Now this water is actually contain this tube. Here is a feed water pump and this one is a condenser. Okay, now when we heat this boiler by using we heat this water by using coal, at that moment this water of this boiler at this moment water of this boiler converted to steam, and that steam is actually transferred through this tube and rotate this turbine. As this turbine is connected with a generator, once this turbine rotates means this generator axle is also rotated, and due to this rotation of this turbine as well as this axle, it produces electricity. Okay, whatever steam is present within this turbine box, that hot steam is transported along this line and it present within this condenser. As here is a cold water, this cold water and hot water mixed and it comes to a normal temperature. Okay, and this warm water also transport to this cooling tower as well as this cooling tower converted this steam to a normal water, means the temperature reduced, and this temperature also transport through this pump and it proceed here, and this cold water is also transport along this to this main boiler. So these are the main factor or the main part of this thermal power plant. So for this thermal power plant, one can say this steam or this energy is actually transport or heat energy is transport to this turbine and it rotates, means it converted to kinetic energy, and this kinetic energy is actually transport to this electric generator, and this kinetic energy is converted to this electric energy. So these are the main factor what you have to remember within this thermal power plant, and this key structure also one can remember. Okay. So let's proceed for the next. Advantage and disadvantage of thermal power plant. What are the advantage? The first advantage, one can say, fuel cost of thermal power plant is relatively low. Yes, it is relatively low because all the thermal power plant is mainly formed near to any coal field. Second thing is we can produce thermal energy almost everywhere in the world. Means whenever we want, you can place it. Production system is simple compared to other system. Means here you can form a very simple way. You can form very simple way electricity. Number 4 is overall system cost effective. Means if we check for overall system, then it is really cost effective. Number 5, easy mechanism. I told you it's really easy compared to other things. Same heat could be reused. Means we can use the same heat and further. I told you. Number 7, easier maintenance of power station. Means um, these things is one of the most vital point for the advantage of thermal power plant. Yes, it is really easier maintenance of this power station. Number 8, use of water is prominent here. Therefore, any place with ample supply of water is perfect location for installing a thermal power plant. And in India, yes, there are so many rivers, so one can place a thermal power plant. The number 9 or the last one, thermal power plant requires comparatively small place to be installed. Means in a very small place we can place this thermal power plant rather than the other sources of energy like nuclear energy or suppose hydroelectricity. So compared to that, we can place very small area this thermal power plant. So these are the advantage what you have to remember. Next is nothing but disadvantage of thermal power plants. Let's proceed for the disadvantage. The first is huge production of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Yes, really nothing to say about this, as when this coal burned, that time it produced a huge amount of carbon dioxide that affects our environment. Second is exhaustible gases harms outside environment badly. Number 3, low overall efficiency. Means if we check other sources of energy compared to that these are low overall efficiency. When overall efficiency is low. Number 4, thermal engines requires a huge amount of lubricating oil that is very expensive. Number 5, nuclear thermal power plant demands excessive amount of water for cooling purpose. And number 6, coal type thermal power the grid. Number 7, this type of power station ultimately responsible for rise in sea plant requires comparatively large duration before it supplies generated power to water level. Means one can say this thermal power plant to get a heat or to boil the water within this boiler, one can use nuclear energy, one can use this coal energy, etc., etc. Now for different type of things we are getting different type of gases. As we are getting different type of gases, so one can say the environment is actually affecting by this thermal power plant. So these are the disadvantage of this thermal power plants. For the next, some questions based on these slides. So the first question, one can say, what is fossil fuel? So you have to write it. What is fossil fuel? Second question, how thermal power plant work? Third question, what are the advantage of thermal power plant? And number 4, write the disadvantage of fossil fuel. So these 4 questions you have to write in your exercise book, means the notebook. So you just write down all these things in your copy. Okay, that's about today. Thank you. And the next day we'll proceed with some new sources of energy. So this much, up to this much only. Thank you. Have a great day.